Hello everyone, nubkeks here and welcome back to Nub Raids, where we are on, once again, the Raid Shadow Legends test server. Thank you to Plarium for letting us on as always. And I'm really happy today because I get to show you an absolutely amazing epic. Probably one of my favorite champions out of this entire new patch that nobody's talking about, right? No one is talking about this guy. Literally the only person I've seen really do anything about this guy was as I was recording stuff for this video, Yagoth, a user in my Discord channel, posted a team on Brutal Hydra using this champion. So I go and I encourage you to go check out Yagoth's team. Actually, I can show you Yagoth's team. Give me one sec. Hang on. Let me grab it. Let's draw it over. Full screen. And there we go. So it is Hydra Brutal, Daniel Casodo, I don't know, Resultado, cool, Guardia Real, this is amazing, Arzobispo Pin, I don't even know what language this is, Skeuramis though, his name's still the same, so there we go. Anyway, that was the team, if you want to pause and look at that, but basically, this champion is Mini-KRISK in a lot of ways. He's a mini Skull Lord Vargal in a lot of ways. When you're looking for a mischief tank for Hydra, this guy is actually coming in as a regular epic that you can get from Ancient and Sacred Shards. This guy is, for a lot of you, going to be one of the very, very, very best options that you can use, and it's a very impressive champion. I really overlooked him, can be completely honest, on my initial impressions, because his A1 is so bad, and his A2 is okay. It's only his A3 that's good, really. But because of the order of the skills, I start off with a bad impression. I know a lot of people do think he looks cool. I think he looks a bit dumb, but I don't know, he looks like a Power Ranger or something. I don't like it. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's look at him. Let's see what he can do. So, outpaces A1, attacks one enemy, has an 80 bucks to a 90% chance of stealing 15% of the target's turn meter, and then has a 20 bucks to 30% chance of placing a stun debuff for one turn if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by this skill. So it's pretty bad. This is really bad. I'm going to be honest. It's not that good. Not great. The chance to stun is really small, considering he doesn't even always steal turn meter, and then you have to fully deplete the skill. I've run him in some teams, and to be honest, I've actually never seen this happen. Basically, the way I think it's supposed to work is that he has counterattack. We'll see that in a couple of minutes here, right? He does give himself counterattack, so a target takes their turn, hits him, he counterattacks, their turn meter is empty, so he therefore fully depletes it and stuns them. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, I've done a bunch of testing, and maybe I've just been extremely unlucky, but I've never seen that actually happen. So I don't know. You guys can let me know if you've seen it happen. It is very possible I just got unlucky. I was running him in team. I'm going to show you the team. An amazing team, budget team for Doom Tower Hard that has a lot of stuns in it. So that's something of an issue. Either way, even if it was just a straight up 30% chance to stun, it would well, then it would be really strong because he's got counterattack. But just by itself, not a great move. I think maybe it could be kind of useful for Fire Knight. Right, you've got a small chance to steal the turn meter, so if you're an earlier game player and you're progressing on Fire Knight, you can use him to crowd control the waves, and then you could turn off his abilities when you get to the boss, and you can just spam his A1 and do some turn meter steal. Not amazing, but, you know, better than nothing. Effortless Superiority then is A2. This is actually pretty good. 3 turn cooldown when booked, attacks all enemies, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, and then has a 60 bucks to a 75% chance of placing decreased attack for 2 turns, fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each buff that has its duration decreased. So, I think this is a pretty reasonable move, right? AoE decreased attack, it is only a 75% chance, so it's not super reliable, but it's pretty decent. I definitely recommend Sniper to up the chance of this decreased attack. But decreasing enemy buffs by 1 turn is actually quite good, especially when you go into Hydra, and if you knock a turn off, reflect damage, let's say Head of Wrath, you don't manage to get block buffs up on Head of Wrath, and he puts up like reflect damage, block debuffs, he's got increased attack. Now, decreasing the 3 turn increase attack Wrath gives himself isn't going to help too much, but it will help a bit. But reducing those other buffs by a turn is quite good. Reducing a turn off the ally protection buffs that go out, quite good. So it's quite a nifty little bit of utility to bring in. Not the most amazing move, but actually quite solid. And it's a decent bit of kit. And then it's his A3 though, that pushes this champion from being so far pretty underwhelming, let's be real, to actually extremely good. Hold the front, okay? 3 turn cooldown when booked, 75. That books to a 100%, finally, a 100% chance on this champion of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Places counterattack and a continuous heal buff on this champion for 2 turns. So what is going on here? Number 1, outside of Hydra even, for dungeons, for Doom Tower Hard, which I will show you first actually, AoE provoke, right, on a 3-turn cooldown, actually quite solid. That's actually quite good. He can take the hits because he's going to heal himself back up. He's a HP based champion too. He's got good HP. He's going to get some damage out with counterattack. It's a pretty reasonable move going into that. When you go into Hydra though, what makes this so strong is now you've got an AoE provoke. It's not an attack, so affinity doesn't matter. AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown, that's what KRISK does as well, guys. You can use that to lock down the Head of Decay. Now, it's not going to lock the Head of Decay down just by itself. You're going to need to bring another provoker in, but it gives you that guaranteed provoke every 3 turns, which will just add that level of consistency to your run. So you can run Skeuramis with another inconsistent provoker, something like a Husk or a Seeker, something like that, right? You can throw them in. They're not going to be 100%. He gives you the 100% coverage every 3 turns. It just works well in tandem. So pretty nice. And then counterattack and continuous heal. These are 2 rare enough buffs. So obviously continuous heal, you can stack up multiple. That's not a problem. Counterattack is exceptionally rare. And what this means for Hydra tanking, for Mischief tanking, he attacks a target with the most buffs because he's giving himself 2 buffs. It's actually quite unusual to get a good champion to put up 2 buffs that are very unique. He can become the target for Head of Mischief very easily. He's very tanky. He's going to heal himself up. He can take the hits. All the Hydra hits coming in, he's going to get some extra free damage from counterattacks and heal himself up. If there's like Leech and War Master procs and all of that. Pretty nifty stuff. Pretty good, right? It's part of what makes KRISK good. KRISK does 2 continuous heal buffs on himself. He can also give himself increased defense for a 3rd buff. Though you might have increased defense on your team anyway, so it depends, right? But it just makes you very consistent. It's a great move. So yeah, there you go. I think he's very strong. 25% HP aura in all battles is not the best, but it's very, very solid. Definitely an option that you can run. I think I might have run it. No, I don't think I did run it in the tests. Maybe I did. Don't remember now. I'll show you. Anyway, let's dive into how I built him, and then we'll see him in action. So this is very interesting. So if we actually go back to our example here, which was, I've already forgotten his name. I'm so sorry. Yagoth. There we go. He actually just replied to me as I'm recording this video. Yagoth built him very differently. Yagoth built him like this. So he built him with lots of defense and pretty low speed, and like so. What I have done is very different. I've built him like a KRISK or a Skull Lord. So I've built him with higher HP, lower defense, but much higher speed, okay? That is what I've done. And then with resistance and accuracy. So these are actually stats I'd say would be good enough for Nightmare. I don't think this champion brings quite enough for Nightmare. You can maybe you could make it work, but you'd need other really good champions to pick up the slack a little bit. But definitely for Brutal, this guy's really good. If I show you this, guys, I threw this together really quickly so you could see some stuff. This would be my rough recommendation for resistance and accuracy. So we want this champion to have enough resistance to survive Head of Mischief trying to steal his buffs. We want to give him the best chance possible. And then we want him to have enough accuracy to consistently provoke the Head of Decay and to not have that provoke, again, be resisted. Always a 3% chance, but, you know, it is what it is. So this is what we're going for. Nightmare 500 resist for an accuracy, Brutal, basically the same resistance and lower accuracy, and then Hard 460 resistance, 260 accuracy. What I'd actually say, you'll see he's very good for Doom Tower Hard. To go all the way up Doom Tower Hard, you'd want about 350 accuracy, all right? Now, you can bring in accuracy auras to supplement it. You might have an increased accuracy champion. Definitely stuff to consider. I definitely think it's worth having him with enough accuracy for Doom Tower Hard if you want to go with him all the way up the floors. He's very good there. So that's definitely a good option. Building that extra, but the resistance is definitely mandatory if you want to use him in Hydra. Otherwise, counterattack and continuous heal get stolen, and you can have a really bad time. I can tell you that much. So that's why I built him. For the masteries, going over here, I have him over into War Master. This is, I think, optional. It will add a decent chunk of extra damage. So it's quite good, but it is nonetheless an optional thing. If you are struggling to get resistance, don't feel bad about coming here, grabbing Defiant, get like more healing, less damage from AoE attacks, right? And then just go down the middle, get some more counterattack stuff, and get him unshakable, okay? That is totally viable. No problems there, guys, if you want to do it. You'll lose out on some damage, but hey, you need that resistance, so go with it in the masteries if you have to. It's totally fine. Then for the support tree, I think this is quite good too. Give him a bit more accuracy here, like more accuracy for every enemy alive. That will help me, for example, to actually push up and hit the 400 I require. I gave him more turn meter when his buffs expire, right? So that when his continuous heal and counterattack fall off, chance for a little bit of turn meter, just get back and get those buffs back up again. Be a bit more consistent. Lore of Steel for more stats. Cycle of Magic, again, just to make that a little bit more consistent. Then Lasting Gifts, 30% chance to extend a buff. So you got 30% chances to extend each of the 2 buffs he puts up to just, again, give you that level of consistency when those buffs would normally expire and he's waiting that turn to put the buffs back up. That's basically what's happening there. Sniper to up the chance for decreased attack on his A2. And that's how he works. Let's dive into the Doom Tower, guys. Let's see him in action. This is the team I put together. Let's look at this as well. Start auto climb. I don't think I've showcased this on the channel yet. Let's just dive in. So in this team, it's a pretty budget team. There are some alternatives that you could put in if you so wish. So we obviously have Skeuramis. Here he goes in, bam, and he's AoE provoked absolutely everything. Now we're really layering a lot of crowd control with this team, guys. So it's a little bit overkill in that sense, but that's okay. That is sort of how you get through Doom Tower hard if you don't have 2 Prince Kymars, the Duchess, and a Seer, and whatever, Lydia, you know? This is the way to do it. That's really successful, which is we just bring CC. What we have, we've got the 2 login legendaries, 9 months and 6 months from Syl and Vizix, both absolutely incredible for Doom Tower hard. And both hard carries for Faction Wars, so you're going to want to book them and build them when you get them. They're account changing for sure. We've got then the 2 previous fusions, the last 2 ones, with Hoskarul and with Morrigan. So both of those coming in as well, which is really fun. And then we've got our boy Skeuramis. So every single person on this team has a ton of crowd control, right? We've got the Provoke from Skeuramis on a 3-turn cooldown. Hoskarul is coming in with an AoE stun on a 3-turn cooldown and an A1 stun as well. Morrigan has an AoE True Fear on a 3-turn cooldown. We've got Provoke on a 3-turn cooldown on Vizix, 100%. We've got the 100%, not 100% chance, excuse me. Got a decent chance to stun from Syl on our A2 as well. It's actually really good when you consider that we've got a 100% chance to Provoke. That's really good from Skeuramis. I mean, the reason is, of course, that stun is stronger than Provoke. So that is why. But yeah, as you can see, we're going to get through. It's not super fast, but it's very consistent. We've got all these layers of crowd control. We're getting decreased attack from Skeuramis as well, which is really going to reduce the damage a lot of these champions can do to us. He is locking them down. If they ever attack him, he gets to counterattack. You can see why I was having it. I literally spent about probably literally 15 minutes looking. Oh, there we go. He's actually done it. He's done the A1 stun. That's the first time I've actually seen it happen. I watched them go on full auto through like 3 or 4 different floors just to make sure it would work. And I was looking for Skeuramis to do his stun thing. And then because it's the test server and maybe there's some bugs to this auto climb thing, it crashed. And I went, oh, okay. I went and I had dinner. Then I came to do this video. It's just the way it is, right? But yeah, look, you get how it works. Can you replace champions in this team? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You can bring in other crowd control champions depending on what you have in your account. Again, what you're looking for are champions, typically speaking, with those 3-turn cooldown crowd control effects that can just sort of layer up together and make things work. And we're just looking to have good accuracy on these champions and good speed, and that is all we need. Defensive stats basically don't even matter because, look, these enemies are not even getting to attack us. This is floor 100 of Doom Tower hard, and we're absolutely ripping through. So yeah, works really well. You get the gist. I'll see you at the end of this run, and then we'll dive into Hydra. Be right back. Actually, just to mention why this strategy is so good, in case you haven't really seen much of it before, right? But when you look at these enemies, right, like these Lord Shazars here, if they get off one set of bombs, right, now we've got a good affinity, so we could, maybe they weak hit and don't place them. But Just one set of these bombs is just going to wipe your team, right? That's how hard it hits in Doom Tower hard. You can't afford to let these enemies hit you, which is why we layer the CC and why it works so well. Anyway, look, there we go. I'll be right back. Be right back. Okay, guys, and here we go. I realize we're going to into auto climb, so you can see, ta-da, there we are. Skeuramis, he does no damage, guys, but he is just bringing a bit of crowd control in there that works really, really well. And you're going to be building him with good accuracy anyway to make him work in Hydra. So why not use them? He's going to be really good. To actually show you the champions real quick and how I built the rest of these champions. What you're looking for the top of Doom Tower hard, you want close to 250 speed, right? Because the fastest champions up there are 250. And you need to lock them down before they take their first turn in the wave. So you can use a speed booster. Like I've got like 300 speed here on Morrigan, and her speed aura helps you do it faster. That is one option. Physics is coming in like this. I've done a whole guide on physics. I still have her in really old gear. This is the gear I put on her basically when I got her 9 months into the game. I've not updated it. I really should because she's such a good champ. This is Morrigan. Huskrul, I did a showcase of him as well. He's actually in Relentless right here, so an absolute stun machine. Great champion. Skeuramis, as you've seen. And yeah, there we go. Where's Syl the Drake's gone? Where is she gone? Wait, I'm confused. Where is Syl? Is she in the vault? Oh, she's in the vault. There we go. Come out, Syl. She can't come out. Well, you can see her stats there anyway. That's how Syl looks. I also have a guide probably on Syl. I did put in Akot the Seared for some of these runs too. I was testing that out too. He obviously works really well. Put him in a stun set. It's going to work really well. He can help it be a bit faster with HP burn. Well, I actually found though that like Syl and Huskrul do so much damage, it actually clears through pretty quick anyway. So there you are. All right, let's dive into the hard Hydra, which is where I want to showcase today. And what I've done, I've put together an all epic team. So it's a pretty straightforward idea. We are actually using Huskrul's aura. What do you know? I think Geomancer has the same aura. He does. So it is what it is. But still, it's a useful thing to bring in. And basically what we're doing with this team, I've done an all epic team, which I haven't done in quite a while. Skeuramis comes in. He's going to bring decrease attack. He's going to bring one source of provoke, and then he's going to mischief tank. Now, this is where legendaries become much better, right? Because you can bring in legendaries with crazy buffs, like, you know, like Brogni, for example, or Duchess, that sort of thing, with a mischief tank, and it lets you get away with it. Whereas if you don't have a mischief tank, and he's going to try steal buffs from just anybody, you can't bring in those really good buffs. Now, it's hard to get epics with those really good buffs, so we're not seeing the full potential of Skeuramis in this sense, but I thought it was still good to see an all-epic team. Seeker is going to come in with a backup provoke. He's going to give us increased attack and turn meter as well. We're going to bring in Ugo for drop defense and block buffs and a little bit of healing, and the Leech is going to be nice. Geomancer for damage. Royal Guard for damage. Decrease accuracy from Geo is also useful. And yeah, HP burn is useful. Royal Guard brings decreased speed. And then we're going to have healing and reviving and perfect veil from Rector Drath. So let's jump in. And what I'm going to do, let me walk you through a few turns of this live. And then I will show you these, because I tested this already. I'll show you a successful run after that. So in this case, I actually have a really, really fast Seeker. Who could provoke this head right here. We're not going to do that. We don't want to see that because that's not interesting. But if you imagine in this case, like you could bring in a Husk, right? Let's say a Husk who wants to nuke turn 1 and then go into his provoke on turn 2. So here we go. Skeuramis comes in and look at that. Really nice thing about him. With KRISK, his provoke move and his mischief tanking move are two different moves, which comes with some advantages. But also the disadvantage that he doesn't kind of go into mischief tank mode effectively on round 1 because he's going to need to provoke, okay? Skeuramis can... Look at this, he's good to go. He's provoked the head and he's mischief tanking already from the get-go, which is really cool. The disadvantage with him, and part of why I say you're going to want a second provoker too, is that it does mean that you cannot delay this move. With KRISK, I can. With KRISK, I can just do his A1 and I can wait for the provoke to be gone, or I can wait for whatever, a head to respawn. It doesn't matter. I can wait. With Skeuramis, you really have to fire off his A3 pretty much on cooldown, at least so long as Head of Mischief is there. Otherwise, well, obviously, he can't mischief tank, right, can he? So that's definitely something to watch out for, guys, right? That's definitely one of his weaknesses. But here he comes. He's coming in round 2, and he's going to lay in that decreased attack. You can see he weak hit right there, didn't place it, but he's put it on these other two heads. He does work, I think, because of this, very well, very nicely with Rector Drath, because Rector Drath with her A1 brings a single target decrease attack, which, as you saw, can actually go through the... it can go through the poison cloud, which is hilarious. Here he goes. Head of Mischief targets him, and we are all good. Fantastic. We'll go in. We'll just smack this head again. It's okay. No worries. And I actually think we're fast enough that Skeuramis is probably going to get back on time. So we don't really need to worry at all. But, you know, let's go. We're just going to try spread some leeches around for a bit more healing. Actually, probably not needed at all. But there we are. He's going in with his A1. You can see his damage is really pants. There's not even a point in building in for damage. You need so much resistance, accuracy, and speed. Not worth it. Don't even bother, guys. And yeah, we're in a pretty good spot. Let's burn this head so we can start landing some debuffs on him. I mean, we might as well hit this head with Seeker. We want to kill this first. Seeker has successfully provoked. And this is where we have that slight disadvantage in terms of Skeuramis. We're not going to be able to delay, right? We have to Mischief Tank. We're going to cleanse off some of these debuffs. So we have to fire this off. The head's already provoked, but it gets him back Mischief Tanking. Another thing to note, I haven't, as you can see clearly, I've not built him with a Blood Shield ring. Well, Blood Shield accessory. But if you put a Blood Shield accessory on him, it's going to make him an even better Mischief Tank. The way Blood Shield works is whenever he does damage, it gives him a tiny shield that is a small portion of that damage. And the great thing about that, the really nice thing about that, is that because he is counterattack, every single time he is hit, he'll lose the shield, but then he'll counterattack and he'll put it right back on. So it's all pretty much always going to be an extra buff that he will have that will help him be a Mischief Tank. I'm trying to showcase in this run that you don't need that, but it is a valuable thing to bring in. We haven't really, because we've been pretty good with our block buffs, we haven't seen him need to reduce the duration of any buffs yet. But again, if that is something that comes up, he's ready and he can do it. Let's see. We land the provoke. We're doing pretty well. But yeah, that's basically how this team works, right? We've got the coverage for Perfect Veil to protect. We're just going to try kill off this guy anyway. We maybe don't need to. We could potentially like retarget our damage and we could start working down the Head of Suffering or something at this point instead. We can kind of do whatever we want, right? Like, we don't necessarily need to kill this head super quick. We've got such good control with this team in terms of provoking. You just need to be careful. If this head does break free of provoke coming up to at this moment in particular, that can get pretty bad. I wasn't paying attention there. Did Mischief target someone else? I'm not sure. You can see that our buffs are expiring, so this is sort of the turn where that can happen. I'm actually going to put decrease speed on Mischief now. We actually got it on both the heads I want, the left head and the right head. But yeah, that's essentially how this team works. I think this is actually a really nice team here. You've got a lot of your bases covered with this team. Let's actually go a little bit further and let's see us trying to break Royal Guard free, which is going to be a bit awkward. Here, once again, you can see Skeuramis. The provoke is slightly wasted. Well, we actually kill the head, so not a big deal. So Head of Mischief, Head of Mischief is going to eat us this time. That's all right. So we'll make sure to burn the Head of Mischief with Geomancer. Geomancer, not the most auto-friendly champion, but he's just so easy to build, and he's so strong, right? He's so strong, and we don't have to worry about these heals being eaten or whatever. So I think he might have it one turn away. Okay, so next turn we're going to put the burn on, and that should do the job. We'll try to hit Head of Mischief. Maybe, you know what, with 5 turns, I think we don't even really need to bother. But you get the gist. We'll just prove that we can break champions free if we want. I'm just going to take some extra damage right here. But yeah, there you go. Fairly self-explanatory. I think you see that the strengths and weaknesses, and I will again show you the full run as we go too. Block buffs stops that going out. We've got the Perfect Veil to cover us from this head, so we're all good. In fact, like at this point, we can just hit full auto and be super lazy because we're not going to keep going. I would say you want to be careful, and you want to, yeah, you want to be careful here and not target this head. Yeah, we could maybe even target this guy. Just you don't want to ever attack this head while you have don't have Perfect Veil on, or you're going to get those True Fears. It can mess you up. And definitely with Skeuramis, one issue you can run into as well, guys, is that because of counterattack, he will sometimes miss the decrease attack, which is why I also say Rector Drath is a really good champion to bring in, that backup decrease attack, just in case you get that, the chance and you miss on Head of Wrath. It's the one you want to get decreased attack on. Also, don't have Geomancer burn a decapitated head. It doesn't work. But you get the gist. Right, let's pause that right there. Let's actually get out of there. And let me show you this. So we'll jump in. And this is sped up. So we can speed up our time, guys. But basically what we have going on here, going through the run, we can see Head of Wrath is in. And Skeuramis is doing his thing. And yes, we can see some different heads. But I ran this one all the way through. We got the 1 key, really no problem at all. And you can sort of see some of the same ideas coming through in this run. So let's see this Head of Wrath explode. And then we'll go forward. So you can see there's the decrease attack from Skeuramis. Doing a great job. He will trigger Head of Wrath a little bit quickly because he's going to counterattack it every single turn it takes. But, it does add up to a nice little bit of extra damage as well. Just got to make sure we keep increased attack on at all points. And yeah. It just makes it, Skeuramis makes it so much easier to deal with Mischief and all the rest. Like I said, he's just so consistent, really strong for this, and very good. You could put a buff extender with him, like a Godseeker and an Inquisitor Shamael team as well. That could be viable. But you can see we're running through, and here we go. Bam, 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 bam. Just to show we did it. We ended the run, and there you go. 21 million. I ended the run early. We could have gone further if we wanted to. We did play it on manual just to make sure everything would work properly. Seeker and Geomancer aren't very full auto friendly. The funny thing about Skeuramis himself actually is very auto friendly, which is really nice. It's one downside with Skull Lord Vargal. Vargal has a provoke on 2-turn cooldown, but you do have to target the head to make sure he provokes the right head, and that can throw off your other champions. Great thing about Skeuramis, he just sort of does it. I actually think on this rotation, Seeker is fairly auto-friendly. This is rotation 5 on the test server for whatever reason, because just in terms of affinities, he does fairly like to hit the Head of Decay. So it's something to consider. But yeah, look, there you are, guys. Skeuramis, he's a great champion for Hydra. And again, big shout out to, wrong one. And I've forgotten his name again. Yagoth, was it? Yeah, Yagoth. Whose name I will always forget, apparently. I'm so sorry. But big shout out to him. There you can see a team that worked on Brutal and got the 1 key on Brutal. So we've got Duchess. You could bring in anything like that. You could bring in a Sifi. You could bring in, it's not much of a budget option. Elva, if you got her from the Guaranteed like I did, she would work in that same slot in a fairly similar way. I will say if you don't have a perfect, Rector Drath would also work somewhat well. You just have to be careful with Lydia in particular because she counterattacks whenever anyone is feared. She'll just chain fear herself against Head of Torment. Something to watch out for. But we've got the decreased defense weaken from Lydia, increased speed from Lydia. We've got Archbishop Pinthroy doing block buffs. And then we've got the same 2 damage dealers I used actually, which with Skeuramis. So a very similar thing. He actually didn't have, it looks like, another provoker in there. He did it with just Skeuramis, which is really impressive. You can definitely do that. It will just require more careful manual play. I like to bring in a second provoker if possible, just to smooth things out like we did in this run. It's not essential, but it does smooth stuff out if you have it, just to make sure, that you keep it on lockdown at all times. And it makes it a very simple run when you've got Mischief Tank, you've got Provoke for Head of Decay. Stuff becomes so much easier. Then you bring in block buffs or HP burns, and life becomes a lot easier for Hydra, let me tell you, when you've got those things together. So there you go. Skeuramis, amazing champ. Hope that you enjoyed watching, guys. And yeah, I'll see you next time. I guess probably the final thing to mention, if you're worried about the speeds, if you're worried about speed, you don't necessarily need him this fast. You could drop his speed down a bit. For the lower difficulties, like you could easily go down to 220 speed, maybe 210 or 200. I'm not even sure. It's good to build him fast so he gets around to his provoke and stuff, but he gives himself so many buffs. That's the nice thing. As a 2-buff, with a 1-buff Mischief Tank, you generally want them slow, or you need to be very careful. With a 2-buff Mischief Tank like him, and especially if you've got Blood Shield, you can afford to build him fast. Just make that clear. Guys, there you go. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you enjoyed. Hit the bell, but all that. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.